let's check out part 2 of this conversation with Cenk Uygur on the phone with one of the trans members of TYT before they say they left TYT. First part was just sort of giving us an intro to what was happening and what was happening behind the scenes. Part 2 is where, in my opinion, of the phone call, is where we really see that there is a problem with Cenk Uygur, not just Anna Kasparian. Let's have a look.
Trans rights activists are all part of this strict ideological group, and they're infecting people with this radical gender ideology, is literally what like these unhinged right-wingers are saying. But it does kind of seem like Cenk is just kind of in that camp of like, oh, if you're trans, you must by definition be like some sort of radical leftist. Clearly like not connecting the dots about people like Caitlyn Jenner or Blair White existing, which
Hey,
honestly was just really, really frustrating to have in that conversation, because the people that are in my circle of friends are people who like literally have been homeless in their lives and people who literally are making like ridiculous amounts of money. I have a pretty broad circle, you know. Something that kind of happens sometimes when you're like a polyamorous trans woman that's like a little bit popular on the internet. It turns out that you can.
and let's just take a moment to appreciate blessings for this person here. They're getting the best of every world. Good God. Polyamorous in the time of Tinder. Good for you. And a little bit famous on the internet. Great for you. That means you get recognized sometimes and it's fun. You go into your areas, you get to be a little bit famous, but you also get to go to the store and not have people ask you about your business. That is, hey, if you're out there, if you're listening to this, good on you. Enjoy yourself. I'm going to live vicariously through you.
Build a pretty wide circle of people from like different perspectives and backgrounds and stuff. I know, what a shocker. But then there's the other part that was like even more disturbing, which was I pointed out something that Anna had said on the air, where I was like, hey, Anna said this bit about doctors giving hormone therapy to children because they were afraid of being called transphobic. And I was very clear. I was like, that's not happening, right? Like, that isn't happening. And Cenk's response was, I don't know. See, I could see it happening though. And I'm like, no, but you couldn't, because if that actually did happen, that would be medical malpractice and it would be like a federal case to just give kids hormone replacement therapy because you didn't want to seem transphobic. That's ridiculous. On its face is ridiculous.
That is absolutely ridiculous. And the response Cenk Uygur supposedly had. Let's be clear. This is truly one former employee's side of the conversation. But assuming it is as they say it is, and I have no reason to believe otherwise, frankly. Real big problem. Oh, it sounds like something that could happen. Well, you said it. You said it before like it was something that definitely does happen. That's a huge problem. It feels real. It doesn't that just sound like where most MAGA beliefs come from. It feels right based on my preconceived notions. So we're going to legislate. We're going to act. We're going to do things that have consequences based off of what we assumed to be true. That, ladies and gentlemen, and folks in between, that's a problem. Let's let her finish up here.
Anybody who knows anything about politics would know that not only would that be a federal case, but it would be like national headlines.
Yes.
Every single newspaper would turn that into the biggest story for months. I mean, literally, the biggest story transphobes have had for the past 2 months is Dylan Mulvaney being on a can of Budweiser. So do you think that they really wouldn't make it national headlines even if it just happened once? But no, Cenk still doubled down and was like, I don't know, I could see that happening. And it's like, great, we have somebody who is like the head of a news network who is like basing political opinions off of things that he could see happening. Like, what a wonderful position to be in at this point. Like, the real brilliant five-head political take right there. You know, I could imagine this scenario, and that really says something about society, doesn't it?
Well, two things. I was going to say, I have technically 100 more subscribers than she does. That's a damn travesty. We gotta fix that. Pop over to her channel, and I recommend subscribing. Because if for no other reason, you're gonna get that tea. Look, I'm a happy drunk and and a rapscallion who sometimes does things specifically to just narrow down the subscribers they get. No reason this person who was on TYT should have less than I. So let's correct that. Thing number two, when I was wondering why it happened, and then I heard this.
It really says something about society, doesn't it? And that
At least she looks pretty when she's laughing. Christ. Doesn't have my chortle, but I'm going to make fun of that laugh substantially because I am still a petty bitch.
That had to be one of the most unhinged parts of that phone call. But whatever. I sent him some research papers about trans people in sports that went into detail pretty clearly about, like, hey, there's no evidence that there's any reason to discriminate against.
Let's see what happens when somebody thinking this way gets new facts.
Trans people in sports. And that was like the conclusion that it came to pretty firmly, right? Hey, there's no evidence that we should discriminate against trans people. What a wild concept. It's amazing. I know. But Cenk apparently has learned the wrong lesson from that, especially when you look at some of the clips from his most recent rant about trans people that he just did the other day regarding trans people in sports and the extreme radical activists that support trans people in sports. Now, let's listen really quick to some of the clips from this rant to see where exactly Cenk is on these issues.
Look, it goes on. This person plays a great many clips. Good for them. They are all interesting. I watched the first half of this. I'm going to watch the back half post stream, but I just wanted to talk about the phone call, and let's talk. Whoop, not that though. Let's talk about it on the other side. So we have discovered Anna Kasparian has been saying some awfully concerning things about trans folks. Some, frankly, rather harmful things about trans folks. She has been dishonest in her discourse publicly. Cenk Uygur has also said some rather disturbing things in that video. She goes on to point out how Uygur is talking about how it's not a popular issue sticking up for trans folks, even though quite the opposite has been shown to be the case. It's every time the right tries to start a new hate campaign about trans folks, they lose votes. And they've given us a political gift, although in reality it's a nightmare, of still trying to target trans folks. And if we give in to that, then it will become a winning issue for them. If we act like there's something bad about sticking up for human beings, we're actually going to give them a victory where they had none. Right now, it's a massive liability for them. So Cenk Uygur is just flat out wrong there, and I have to question why. Is he a dumb person? I don't think so. Is Anna Kasparian a dumb person? I definitely don't think so. Are they good people? I don't think so. I think they are chasing an audience. That simple. They're going after a new demographic. I don't know this. It's the only explanation I can offer. But really, functionally, it doesn't matter. what needs to happen is they need to knock off this anti-trans hatred. They need to knock off the bigotry. They need to knock off this behavior. The way I would recommend we do that is by everybody just taking a little break from TYT. In view of the fact that they have been arguing on the left on many issues for many years, I wouldn't say permanent, forget about them just quite yet. I'm damn close to that being my personal recommendation. This is some disturbing behavior, and they could do a lot of harm, particularly if they pull a Tim Pool and keep saying they're on the left while they advocate for far-right insanity. Could do a lot of harm. But as of now, I would say take a break from TYT. And that break can end when they reverse course on their bigotry. I think you should give them a taste of the audience they're going to lose when they try to pick up bigoted viewers.